Attack on Titan is taking some pretty huge steps in the direction of the final act, and every month I'm so anxious thinking about my favorite story for the last 10 years ending so soon. In my previous video I reviewed chapter 125, and today I wanted to talk some more about our heroes and the possible future death of one of them. I will also address the general atmosphere on Paradis Island and all the conflicts that are slowly starting to show up. And of course, this video will contain spoilers about chapter 125, so dedicate your likes and subscribe for humanity. Yeah, I know that was lame. The latest chapter began with the casualties of the walls coming down. I'm really happy Sayama chose to emphasize the collateral damage from Eren's actions, showing us once more different sides and opinions. As we can see from the crowd, some understand that Eren didn't mean to hurt the islanders, while others, which got hurt or lost loved ones, look at his actions as wrong. I can absolutely understand both sides here. For some, Eren is the savior who is going to free them all, but for others, he is the reason they lost their houses and families. Think about it, Eren's driving force in our story was the death of his mom, and that was because of the actions of the warriors. Now think about the people that lost family members when the walls fell. Would it be so crazy to believe that some of them will hate Eren for that just as much as Eren hated the Titans? I think it is a very likely scenario. Not all people can forgive such an act, even if it wasn't intentionally. And here we can see the first conflict that is forming in Paradis Island, a conflict with the potential to last years later. Next we have Best Girl Annie, and before we'll talk about her, I wanted to address something I said about her in my previous video. I said that Annie probably can't transform into a Titan without sunlight, and some of you asked me what I meant in the comments. And you are perfectly right, because I didn't explain it well enough, so I will clarify this now. From the beginning of Attack on Titan, we've seen the effect of sunlight on Titans, and also the moon, which is actually reflected sunlight. Although it was not stated never in the manga or anime, I believe that sunlight is extremely crucial for Titan Shifter as well. First we had Eren inside the Dark Well in the first season, and he couldn't transform. We've been told that he wasn't able to do it back then because he lacked a resolve or purpose for the transformation, but I think it was just something to let us look the other way and not pay attention to it so much. Also, we have never seen a Titan Shifter transform indoors, except for in the Race family cave, which we know is covered with crystals which produce light similar to sunlight. By now, some of you might have noticed that I was wrong, because Eren did transform indoors one time with Reiner on Marley, but I will remind you of the little window in the room, which we all thought was there to let us hear Willy Tyburn's speech. I think it was actually the source of sunlight Eren needed. Again, this is only my theory, but I wanted to explain why I thought about it, so let me know what you think about it in the comments. Annie is back, so what now? I actually don't see how Annie can affect Eren at this point, even if she of royal blood, like I suggested in my Annie video. But there is one thing I am pretty sure we will get to see, and that is the famous Annie vs Mikasa fight we have been teased with in the first season and also again in one of Eren's memories. Therefore, I am pretty positive the Annie vs Mikasa fight will happen soon. The outcome of this fight was a mystery back then, but I think that by now Mikasa has the upper hand. What do you think? Do you also dying to know the outcome of the original fight? And who do you think will win between them today? I wanted to mention some theory that is going around, saying that Eren Kruger is Annie's real father. I actually mentioned a possible connection to Annie and the Attack Titan in my Annie video, and I really think this is a beautiful idea. One problem though. According to the Attack on Titan timeline, Kruger died a couple of years before Annie was even born. But of course, the dates are not always accurate, so if Annie is indeed connected to Kruger, she has to be older than her friends. As much as I love this idea, I don't know if it's really possible, and I still like my connection theory between Kruger and Kiyomi much better. Nevertheless, her backstory clearly shows us that there is much more to Annie than we've been told. For instance, if her mother's lover was Eldian, as she claimed, why go through all of this trouble to save the baby, and to also ensure she will grow up to be a warrior? That tells us that at least one of her parents had some influence, Now, I believe her mother had the connections, while her father was an Eldian of noble or royal blood. Just because I don't think a lot of Eldians back then would have had connections and influence like that, unless they were, for example, the Tybor family. And we've seen Annie use the Titan Scream, which can only be used by royal blood users, like Zeke, for example. A lot of you have asked me in the comments about Armin's concerns about an upcoming war for Titans and about Keith Shady's speech to the cadets, which both, together with the conflict surrounding Eren's actions, will create the new reality of Paradis Island. Keith Shady is telling the new cadets to not oppose the Jaegerists, and he is absolutely right. The Jaegerists controlling the majority of the population, according to him, so resisting them now will just lead to a certain death. But he also tells them to not lose their sight, and to wait quietly for the right moment. Notice how similar this is to Grisha and the Eldian restorationists on Marley, which had to follow the rules of Marley and accept their status as devils, but waited for the right moment to strike Marley, which unfortunately for them never happened. Before we talk about Armin and the possible death that I mentioned before, don't forget to subscribe and to give this video a little like to let me know you enjoyed. Armin is telling Mikasa that he is concerned about a possible future fight with the warriors if Connie will indeed sacrifice Falco in order to save his mother. Armin's concerns are actually legit. If Falco will be eaten, then Connie's mom will become the new Jaw Titan, something that will probably really upset Reiner, Pieck and Gabi. And now that all the Titan powers are present on the island, this will cause a war to control the Titans, just like it was during the time of the Great Titan War. Just now it will happen all over again in a much smaller scale inside this island, which will be devastating. This fight will carry on until one of the two factions will lose possession of their titans, and then there will be a possible scenario that the losing side will be treated just like the Eldians are treated on Marley, or just be exterminated, which will only lead to another conflict with people that won't agree with that sort of action. If we take into consideration the factions forming against and pro-Eren on Paradis Island, we can also assume some part of the population might be switching sides according to their own agenda. And also adding into the mix the Jaegerist led by Flock that wants to exterminate everything he sees as evil. We are looking at a real possible mess in a much larger scale than the world conflict and on a much smaller land. Like I said, this will be devastating to the island and for the islanders. Now for my personal opinion, I don't believe Connie will succeed in saving his mom, and as much as I hate saying this, I believe that Connie is not going to survive this. I can't really imagine his mom being a new Titan shifter, and I really don't see him letting go of the idea of saving her. So I don't see any good outcome for him facing Gabi, who is not going to die soon, and also Armin that wants to stop him. Imagine Isayama killing Connie by letting his mom eat him. That would be absolutely the worst, but also unlikely. Next we have Flock, which is extremely power-tripping by now. This guy is proving to be a very surprising character, but also, in my opinion, this guy needs to go down fast, and I really hope Jean and Mikasa are aware of that. Flock had become very dangerous by now. He has the support of the Jaegerists, and apparently also Eren, and I think all the power has gotten to his head by now. His plan is to eliminate all evil from the island, but we all know that this is not possible, because in life and also in Attack on Titan, there is no good or evil. Things are not black and white, and there are a lot of different perspectives and worldviews. When a single person acts according to his own beliefs of what is good or bad, this makes him a dictator, a tyrant, or a very bad king. I think by now he needs to go, but that also won't be easy, because killing Flock will possibly antagonize the other Jaegerists, which will lead to, you guessed it, another conflict. And lastly, we have Hanji and Levi, which are now facing Pieck and Magath. Honestly, I don't think Hanji will choose to approach the enemy so casually without a plan, and honestly, the thing I want most is to find out that Levi is only pretending to be unconscious now, and he and Hanji are just trying to get close enough to the cult Titan. I don't think it is very likely, but this is absolutely my favorite scenario, and if I'm right, bless you, Isayama. You also asked me what I think about Levi, and truly, I am not concerned at all, because just as I knew he was going to come back, I also know he still has a part, a crucial part in this story, which in my opinion will involve Zeke, and a little promise Levi made to Erwin back then. And yes, I'm also 100% sure Zeke is coming back, so all the Zeke fans can relax. For now. That is all for this video, my Titan loving friends, and I really want to hear your opinions. What do you think is going to happen, and do you think anything can be done at this point? You can also contact me at any of my social accounts, and I will link them all in the description. Thank you all for joining me today, and until next time, don't forget to dedicate your hearts for humanity inside and outside the walls.